You know, life has a cruel way of testing what your heart can handle. If someone had told me 10 years ago that I'd be sitting alone in my Ohio farmhouse, wondering whether my own son truly loved me, I would have laughed, because I believed love between a mother and a son was unshakable, eternal, sacred. My name is Helen Williams. I'm 74 years old. I've spent most of my life in this little white house with blue shutters, the same one my late husband George built with his own 2 hands. Every nail, every brick held a piece of our story, and for a long time it was a beautiful one. George and I had one son, David. He was our pride, our heartbeat. I still remember the day he left for college, the way he hugged me at the door, his eyes bright with dreams. "Mom, I'll make you proud," he'd said. He did. At least, that's what I thought. David moved to California after graduation, got married, started a business, and had 2 beautiful kids. My grandbabies, Lily and Owen. I adored them. But distance has a way of dulling even the strongest bonds. Calls got shorter, visits became rare, and I convinced myself it was just life, that he was busy. Until that call. It was a Tuesday morning, early spring. The garden was blooming, the sun soft through the kitchen curtains. I was making coffee when the phone rang. David's name flashed on the screen. My heart leapt. He hadn't called in weeks. "David! Honey, it's so good to hear your voice." There was a pause, just long enough for me to notice it. That pause between warmth and calculation. "Hey, Mom," he said finally, cheerful but distant. "I've been thinking about you." "You doing okay out there all alone?" "Oh, you know me," I laughed softly. "The old house keeps me busy." "The garden, the porch swing, your father's workshop. I find ways to stay happy." He chuckled, but it sounded forced. "Yeah. Listen, Mom, I was talking to Melissa the other day." Melissa was his wife, always polite but cold as glass. "We were wondering if maybe you've thought about selling the house. You know, moving somewhere easier? Maybe closer to us?" I stopped stirring my coffee. "Sell the house?" "Yeah, I mean, real estate's booming in your area. You could make a good profit. And honestly, Mom, that place must be a lot to handle at your age." There it was, the first crack. He wasn't asking about my health or my loneliness or even the garden I loved. He was asking about the house. I forced a laugh. "Oh, David, this old place?" "It's more than just wood and nails. It's your father's dream." "Yeah, I know," he said quickly, "but sometimes we have to move on, right? Anyway, just think about it. We can help with the paperwork." We ended the call with polite words, but after I hung up, I sat in silence, staring at the wall. My hands trembled slightly as I lifted my coffee cup. Was that concern in his voice? Or calculation? I tried to shake the thought away. "He's my son," I told myself. "He loves me. He's just worried about me living alone." But something didn't sit right. A few days later, he called again. This time, he asked about my will. "Mom, have you updated your documents?" "You know, just to make sure everything's in order in case, anything happens." He tried to sound casual, but I heard it. That subtle tone people get when they're tiptoeing around money. That night, I sat at my husband's old desk. The moonlight spilled through the lace curtains. I opened the drawer where I kept our old photographs. George smiling, David as a boy holding his toy truck, our family at the beach. I whispered to the empty room, "George, what happened to our boy?" And then, something inside me, quiet but strong, spoke back. "Test him." That single thought wouldn't leave me alone. I needed to know the truth. Whether my son still saw me as his mother, or just as a bank account in a rocking chair. So I made a plan. The next morning, I called him. My voice trembled just enough to sound fragile. "David, honey, something terrible happened," I said. "The accountant called. There was a mistake in your father's old investments. I've lost almost everything. The savings, the stocks, it's all gone." He went silent. For 5 full seconds, I could hear him breathe, then clear his throat. "Oh, wow, Mom. That's really tough. Are you okay?" I don't know, dear," I said softly. "I might even have to sell the house to stay afloat." He sighed. Yeah, that might be best, Mom. You can move into a smaller place. Maybe even a retirement home? It'd be easier on you. And safer. A retirement home. My heart clenched. Not, come stay with us, Mom. Not, we'll figure this out together. Just a suggestion to go live among strangers. I thanked him for his advice, hung up, and stared at the empty chair across from me, the one George used to sit in during breakfast. That was the night I realized, sometimes love dies quietly, not with anger, but with indifference. And in the echo of that silence, I began to understand something painful and true. You can give someone everything, your time, your love, your sacrifices, and one day, they might still weigh your worth in dollars. But the story doesn't end there, because 2 days later, I heard a knock on my door, and that knock changed everything. The rain had been falling since dawn. It wasn't the kind of storm that rattled the windows. It was quiet, steady, the kind that makes you think too much. I was sitting by the window, wrapped in George's old cardigan, staring at the road that cut through our front yard like a silver ribbon. And then, knock, knock. At first, I thought I imagined it. Nobody visited me anymore except the mailman, but then I heard it again, louder this time. I pushed myself up, my knees aching, and shuffled to the door. When I opened it, there she was, a small figure, soaked from the rain, suitcase in hand. My breath caught. Lily? My granddaughter looked up, her brown hair plastered to her forehead, her eyes wide and full of tears. Grandma, she whispered. Dad told me what happened. I came as soon as I could. Before I could say a word, she dropped her bag and threw her arms around me. For a moment, the years fell away. I felt the warmth of family again, something I hadn't felt in so long. Oh, my sweet girl, I murmured, holding her tight. You shouldn't have traveled all the way here in this weather. I couldn't just stay home, she said, stepping inside. Dad said you lost everything. I didn't care about the money. I just wanted to see you. Her voice cracked on that last word. See you. Those two simple words melted something inside me that had turned cold since George died. We made hot chocolate, sat by the fireplace, and I watched the flames dance in her eyes. She was 17 now, tall, beautiful, but still the same little girl who used to run through my garden barefoot, chasing butterflies. She told me about school, her friends, how she wanted to study art. Her laughter filled the room like sunlight after a storm. For hours, I almost forgot the lie I'd told, that I had lost everything. But when she asked, Grandma, what are you going to do now? I felt the weight of it all press down again. I took a deep breath. I'm not sure yet, sweetheart. Maybe I'll find a small apartment in town, or maybe a retirement place. She frowned. A retirement home? No way. You can't live in one of those. You love your garden. You love this house. I can't afford it anymore, I said quietly, playing along with the story. Sometimes life takes away what we thought would last forever. Lily's eyes filled with tears. She took my hand and said, Then I'll help you, Grandma. I'll get a part-time job if I have to. I smiled, brushing her hair back. Oh, honey, you don't need to do that. I want to, she said firmly. You've done so much for everyone. It's time someone takes care of you. And right then, in that small, flickering light, I realized something so pure, so real, that love doesn't always skip generations. Sometimes it just hides and waits to be found again. That night, she helped me cook dinner. We laughed over burnt toast, watched an old movie, and she even slept in George's old recliner, wrapped in a blanket that smelled faintly of cedar and lavender. But somewhere deep inside, guilt started creeping in. Because Lily didn't know it was all a test. She believed every word I'd said. Around midnight, I sat by the fire alone, staring into the flames. I whispered, George, what am I doing? She's innocent. The house creaked in response, the way old houses do, but it felt like an answer. You're finding the truth, it seemed to say. The next morning, the sun peeked through the curtains. Lily was already outside, sweeping the porch, humming softly. She looked so much like her father used to, back when he was kind, before money and ambition hardened him. Over breakfast, I asked her, "Did your dad say anything else before you came?" She hesitated. "Not really. Just that he was worried, but he also said maybe it's time you downsize and stop clinging to the past." Clinging to the past. Those words hit me harder than I expected. The past was all I had left. My memories, my love, my home. Later that day, while Lily was helping me organize old boxes in the attic, she found a photo album. Our family through the years. She sat on the floor flipping through it, smiling at baby pictures of her father. "Dad looked so happy back then," she said softly. "I wonder what changed." I didn't have an answer. Maybe life changed him. Maybe I did, without realizing. Maybe love doesn't always protect you from growing apart. It just gives you the strength to remember what once was. That evening, I got another call from David. "Hey, Mom. Just checking in," he said. "Lily made it there, right?" "She did," I said quietly. "She's been a big help." "Good. Listen, I was thinking, if you really need to sell the place, I know a guy who could get you a great deal fast. It might even help you move into that retirement home sooner." The way he said it, smooth, confident, made my chest tighten. He wasn't calling out of love. He was circling like a vulture. I said softly, "You seem very eager to get this house sold, David." He laughed. "No, Mom, I just want what's best for you. You shouldn't be alone out there." When I hung up, I looked at Lily, sitting on the floor, drawing quietly. She looked up and smiled, and in that moment, I made a decision. If my son wanted to know what I truly had left, he was about to find out. But not in the way he expected, because sometimes you have to lose everything to show someone what everything really means. Next time, you'll see how Helen's test goes even deeper and how one unexpected visit turns her whole world upside down. The next morning smelled like coffee and lilacs. The rain had passed, and sunlight dripped through the windows like honey. But inside me, something heavy was brewing, the kind of storm you can't see, only feel. Lily was sitting at the kitchen table, sketching something in her notebook. Her hair was tied in a messy bun, her sleeves rolled up. She looked so alive, so full of heart. "Grandma," she said, not looking up, "you know what I love about this house? It feels like it's breathing, like it remembers." I smiled, my chest tightening. "That's because it does, sweetheart. Every creak, every floorboard, it's a memory." She nodded, smiling. "Then we can't let anyone take it away." Her words hit harder than she knew. That afternoon, I drove into town, the first time in weeks. The old courthouse sat on Main Street, across from the bakery George and I used to visit every Sunday. The smell of fresh bread nearly brought tears to my eyes. I walked inside and met Mr. Caldwell, my lawyer. He was an old friend of George's, gray-haired but sharp as ever. "Helen," he said kindly, standing to greet me, "what brings you here today?" I smiled faintly. "I need to make some changes to my will." He adjusted his glasses. "Changes? Everything okay?" I nodded slowly. "I just want to make sure my estate goes to the right person." He flipped open his notepad. "Very well. So your current beneficiary is your son, David. You'd like to—" "I'd like to leave everything. The house, the savings, all of it, to my granddaughter, Lily." He looked up, surprised. "All of it?" "Yes," I said firmly. "All of it." He hesitated. "Would you like to tell me why?" I took a deep breath. "Because she came when no one else did. That's reason enough." He nodded slowly. "Understood." When I left his office, I stood on the sidewalk for a moment, feeling the wind tug at my hair. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about punishing David. It was about truth. That evening, Lily and I cooked dinner together again. She talked about her dreams, painting, traveling, opening her own little studio someday. "Maybe you'll even paint this old house one day," I said. She grinned. "I already started." She opened her sketchbook and showed me a drawing. My porch, my flowers, the old swing. And there I was, sitting with a cup of tea. She'd captured everything perfectly. It was like she could see my heart. After she went to bed, I sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at her drawing. My heart ached, knowing what I was doing, spinning a lie just to uncover the truth. The next morning, David called again. "Hey, Mom. I've been thinking. You shouldn't worry about the finances. I can help with the house sale. I even found a real estate agent who's willing to fly out this week." His tone was smooth, too smooth. "David," I said quietly, "why are you in such a hurry?" He laughed nervously. "I'm not. I just want what's best for you. You deserve comfort, Mom. Comfort." I wanted to ask, whose comfort? Mine or his? Instead, I said, "That's sweet of you, dear. Why don't you come visit? We can talk in person." There was a pause. Yeah, sure, Mom. Maybe next month. Things are crazy at work right now." Next month, always next month. After I hung up, I looked out the window. Lily was outside, trimming flowers, humming. She was everything pure that my son had forgotten how to be. And that's when I made my final decision. If David was going to care only when money was involved, I'd make sure the truth was waiting for him, cold and clear, when the time came. Over the next few days, I started acting the part of a woman who'd lost it all. I sold some old furniture, canceled a few services, and even let the garden grow a little wild. I wanted him to see the struggle when he finally showed up. Then, on Thursday evening, I got a call from an unknown number. "Mrs. Williams? This is Janet from Fairview Realty. Your son asked me to schedule an appraisal for your property this weekend." I froze. "He did what?" "Yes, ma'am. He said you were ready to sell." I thanked her, hung up, and sat down hard. My son hadn't even asked me. He'd just gone ahead, arranging to sell my home, the place where his father's ashes were buried under the oak tree. When Lily came into the room, she saw my face and frowned. "Grandma, what's wrong?" I swallowed hard. "Your father, he's sending someone to look at the house. To sell it." Her eyes widened. "Without asking you?" I nodded slowly. She stood up, shaking her head. "No, he can't do that. This is your home." The anger in her voice startled me, not because it was loud, but because it was honest, fierce, the kind of love that protects. That night, I sat in bed, staring at the ceiling. I could almost hear George's voice in the dark. "Now you see, Helen," he would have said, "sometimes the people you raise forget what matters. But life has a way of reminding them. And maybe this painful charade, was that reminder." The next day, the appraiser came. A woman in her 40s, polite smile, clipboard in hand. She walked through the house, taking notes. Lily followed her like a hawk. When she left, I received another call. David again. "So, Mom," he said, cheerful, "how'd the appraisal go?" She said it's a beautiful property. "David," I said softly, "this house isn't just property. It's my life." He didn't reply right away. Then, almost impatiently, "Yeah, but you said you might lose it anyway. Better to sell now and have some cash left." Cash left. Those words cut deeper than any knife. After the call, Lily came and sat beside me. "Grandma, you don't deserve this. He's not thinking about you at all." I looked at her, tears welling up. "Sometimes, dear, the people you love most are the ones who teach you the hardest lessons." She hugged me tight. "You're not losing this house, Grandma." "Not if I can help it." Her voice was trembling, but there was strength in it, the kind I hadn't heard in years. And as I held her, I knew something for certain. No matter what happened next, no matter how ugly the truth became, I had already found what money could never buy, real love. But the storm wasn't over, because the next call would change everything. It was Saturday morning when I saw his car pull into the driveway. A silver Lexus, sleek, spotless, the kind of car that looked out of place in front of my old wooden porch. David stepped out, wearing a crisp shirt and expensive sunglasses. He looked successful, polished, but not like my son. The boy I raised had warmth in his smile. This man, had calculation in his eyes. I stood on the porch, wiping my hands on my apron, my heart heavy and restless. "Mom," he said, spreading his arms. "You look great!" I forced a smile. "Hello, David." He walked up the steps, glanced around the yard, and frowned slightly. "Wow, the place looks different. You letting it grow wild now?" "It's been a busy few weeks," I said simply. "Yeah, I heard." He chuckled awkwardly. "The investment thing. Sorry about that, Mom." "Real bad luck." Bad luck. That's all he had to say about my supposed financial ruin. "Come inside," I said softly. When he stepped in, Lily was in the kitchen, wiping the counter. She froze when she saw him. "Hey, kiddo," he said, forcing a grin. "Hi, Dad," she replied quietly, her voice tight. For a while, we just sat at the table, the three of us, sipping tea. The silence was thick, the kind that hums between people who have too many unspoken truths. "So," David finally said, "I talked to the realtor. The market's still hot. We could sell this place fast, Mom. Get you a cozy apartment nearby." I looked at him carefully. "David, do you really think I'd be happier away from this home?" He leaned forward, as if explaining something to a child. "Mom, it's not about happiness. It's about practicality. You're 74. You don't need all this space. The taxes alone are insane." Lily slammed her cup down. "It's not about taxes, Dad. It's her home." He turned to her sharply. "Lily, I know you love this place, but your grandma can't live here forever. It's falling apart." "It's not falling apart," she shot back. "You just don't care about it." The words hung in the air like thunder. I could see the tension in his jaw, the flicker of irritation. And then, for the first time, he snapped. "Fine. You know what this is really about? You're making it harder than it has to be, Mom. You've got equity sitting here. Real money. You could make life easier for yourself and your family. Why cling to a memory?" A memory! That's all this house was to him. I stood slowly. My voice was calm, but inside, my heart was pounding. "David," I said quietly, "do you remember the oak tree in the backyard?" He blinked, caught off guard. Yeah, the big one? What about it?" "Your father planted it the year you were born. We buried his ashes there. Every spring, it blossoms white, his favorite color. That tree holds his memory. This house holds ours. And you want to sell it because it's practical?" He looked uncomfortable, glanced away. "Mom, don't make this emotional." "I'm just trying to help." Lily stood, her eyes blazing. "You're not helping anyone. You just want the money." "Lily!" he barked, but she didn't flinch. "No, Dad. I know what you said to Mom on the phone. You told her to sell the house. You didn't even offer to help her yourself. You just wanted her out of the way." He froze. His face went pale. "You heard that?" "I was sitting right next to her when you called." The room fell into silence. Only the ticking clock filled the space between us. Finally, I spoke. "David, tell me something. If I really had lost everything, if I had nowhere to go, what would you have done?" He hesitated, his lips parting, but no words came. I took a deep breath. "Would you have taken me in? Let me live with you?" He looked down. "Mom, that's not fair. Answer the question." He swallowed hard. I don't know. We don't really have space. That's all I needed to hear," I said softly. He stared at me, confused. "What's that supposed to mean?" I turned toward the window, watching the sunlight hit the old oak tree outside. "It means I know the truth now. That's all." He frowned. "What truth?" I turned back to him, my voice steady but low. "I didn't lose anything, David." He blinked. "What?" "I lied," I said quietly. "I still have every dollar, every investment, every piece of this house. I made it up, to see what really mattered to you." He stood there, stunned. His face flushed with anger and disbelief. You, you lied to me? Yes, I said calmly, and in doing so, I finally saw who you've become. He opened his mouth, then closed it. His hands shook slightly. That's manipulative, Mom. Cruel, even. I nodded slowly. Maybe, but not as cruel as realizing your only child cares more about your property than your well-being. He exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. I can't believe this. I couldn't either, I whispered. Lily stood by my side, her hand gently resting on my shoulder. Her eyes were wet but fierce. You don't have to explain anything, Grandma. You did the right thing. David looked between us, his expression hardening. So what now, huh? You test me, humiliate me, and think that makes you right? I met his gaze. No, David. It doesn't make me right. It just makes things clear. He stood there for a long moment, then grabbed his coat. Unbelievable, he muttered. You'll regret this, Mom. You really will. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. The house shook for a moment, and then it was still again. The silence after he left was deafening. I felt something inside me collapse. Not anger, not even regret, just sadness. The kind that seeps into your bones and stays there. Lily knelt beside me, tears rolling down her cheeks. Grandma, I'm so sorry. I touched her face gently. No, my love. Don't be sorry. Some truths are meant to hurt, because they heal us too. She nodded, hugging me tightly. Outside, the wind rustled through the oak tree. I looked out the window, the sunlight soft and golden. Maybe George was watching. Maybe he was proud. Or maybe he was just sad too, that our son had lost his way somewhere between love and greed. But this wasn't the end, because 1 week later, something unexpected happened. Something that changed even the truth I thought I knew. A week had passed since David slammed that door. The house had been quiet before, but now it was different. It wasn't the peace of solitude, it was the kind of stillness that follows a storm. The air felt heavier, like it carried words that had been said too late. Lily had stayed for a few more days. She cleaned, cooked, even made me laugh again, but she had to go back to school eventually. When she hugged me goodbye, she whispered, "You're not alone, Grandma. I'll call you every day." And she did. Every morning, her voice was the first thing I heard. That girl had the kind of heart that could rebuild what others had broken. But nights were hard. That's when memories crept in. The laughter in the hallway, George's old radio humming, the sound of little feet running across the porch. I'd close my eyes and see David at 10 years old, holding a jar of fireflies, saying, "Mom, I'll never leave you." I smiled bitterly in the dark. Promises sound so pure when we're young. 3 nights after Lily left, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name written in David's messy handwriting. For a long time, I didn't open it. I just sat there, staring at the envelope, afraid of what waited inside. Finally, I unfolded it. Mom, I don't even know how to start this. I'm angry, I'm embarrassed, and I'm ashamed. You tricked me, and it hurt. But after I calmed down, I realized why you did it. You wanted to see if I cared about you, not your money. And the truth is, I failed that test. I don't know when I became this person. Somewhere between work, bills, and trying to give my kids everything I didn't have, I stopped calling you. I stopped showing up. Maybe I thought money could fix distance. That one day, when I had enough, I'd come back. But I forgot what you really needed. I forgot you needed your son. I'm sorry, Mom. I don't expect forgiveness. I just hope someday you'll let me try again. Love, David. By the time I finished reading, my hands were trembling. A tear fell onto the paper and smudged the ink. He was trying. For the first time in years, he was trying. The next morning, I sat at my husband's old desk, the same one where I'd once signed the papers leaving everything to Lily. I took out a clean sheet of paper and began to write back. Dear David, you were right. I did trick you. And yes, it was cruel, but losing your father taught me that sometimes you only see the truth when life takes something away. I needed to know if love still lived beneath all that success. I saw it once, when you were a little boy and you refused to sleep until I tucked you in. I saw it when you called me from college just to say goodnight. I needed to see if any of that love still existed. Your letter gave me hope that it does. Come visit me, son. Not to talk about money, not about the house. Just bring yourself. Love always, Mom. I mailed it that afternoon. Days turned into weeks. I watered the garden, baked pies I never finished, sat on the porch waiting for a familiar car to drive up that long gravel road. But David never came. He called once, left a voicemail, said work was busy, said he'd visit soon. But soon never came. Still, I held on to that letter, folded neatly, tucked beside my husband's photograph, because even if he never showed up, at least I knew the truth. Somewhere inside that man, the boy I raised still existed. Life moved on quietly. The seasons changed. Lily graduated high school and got into an art program in Chicago. She called me the night she got the letter of acceptance, crying with joy. "Grandma," she said, "I'm going to make you proud." I laughed through tears. "You already have, sweetheart." That summer, she visited again. We sat under the oak tree, the one that held George's ashes, and watched the sunset. The sky was painted gold and lavender, and for a moment, the world felt full again. "Grandma," she said softly, "do you ever regret testing Dad?" I looked at her, thinking carefully. "Sometimes," I admitted, "but not because of what I found, because of what it cost me to find it." She nodded slowly, her eyes shining. "You still love him, don't you?" "Always," I whispered. "That's the hardest part." Love doesn't disappear when people disappoint you. It just changes its shape. We sat there until the fireflies came out, just like the ones David used to catch. The same light, dancing in the same air. When Lily went back to the city, I walked her to the car. Before she drove off, she handed me something. A small canvas, wrapped in brown paper. "Don't open it until I'm gone," she said with a smile. When I finally did, I gasped. It was a painting of my house, the porch, the garden, and me sitting in the rocking chair. But there was someone else in it too. A man standing by the oak tree, smiling softly. George. Underneath she had written, "For Grandma, so you'll never feel alone." I hung it above the fireplace. That night, I sat by the fire, the painting glowing in the warm light. The house creaked gently, the wind whispering through the windows. And I realized something. All those years I thought I was losing everything, I was only learning what truly stayed. Love. Memory. The quiet strength to keep forgiving, even when it hurts. The world outside had moved on, faster than I could ever keep up with. But in my little white house, the past and the present lived side by side. And somewhere, maybe years from now, my son would walk through that door again, not for what he could gain, but for what he had lost. Until then, I'd keep the porch light on. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to Grandma Tales Corner, where every story holds a piece of life, love, and lessons worth remembering. Thank you for listening.